It's October 18th. It's Monday. That means it's the day to walk along the creek. So that's where I'm headed. It's about 2 or 3 degrees. Not too bad. Bit cool because I'm not wearing a jacket, but that's because I know I will warm up as I walk. And I'm back to walking here at my more usual morning time, so I was walking last night just as the sun was setting, and now I'm walking not too long after the sun has arisen. And it won't be too long before this time of the morning the sun is not up. And then we'll see what I do. I think some of the streets are getting their leaves swept up today. There's a bit of machinery moving around. Let's see. Which way shall we go? I think we'll go down here, climb up on the dike. Do a bit of a reverse from the way I sometimes walk. So I walked late yesterday because yesterday afternoon I was at Government House receiving a Sovereign's Medal for Volunteers, along with several other people, presented by the Lieutenant Governor, His Honor the Honorable Russ Verasti. And in my case, it was for all the work I've done with Regina Musical Theatre over the years on a volunteer basis. It's on the board for years. I was president twice. I used to do all the programs, do all the posters, set up the website, started the social media, publicity director when I first started, did the newsletter. So I have done a few things. They've slowly taken that away from me. Other people are doing it now. I kind of miss doing the programs and the poster. But things move on. There's the Henderson Terrace, I'd like to point out. Nice heritage row houses there, now condos. Something in my eye, which is going to probably annoy me for this entire walk. I'll try not to keep talking about it. I tried to get it out before I left, but it's still there. Contacts are terrible for that. So far, nobody has said hello this morning. Well, I'm here. Where are you? Interesting there why some of the leaves go green and some of them are orange, and then there's a few red. So I got some publishing stuff to look after today, but Shapers of Worlds Volume 2 is pretty much settled. I'll be just waiting till just before November 2nd to pull the plug on the print version. Not pull the plug, pull the trigger, which will, on Amazon, I mean, you can order it now through Ingram. Bookstores can. Which means you can pre-order it on Amazon. That's the Ingram version, but once I set up a Amazon version, it'll default to that if you order print, which means it's always in stock at Amazon. The original one is continuing to sell. Probably averages about a copy a day. That might go up when there's 2 of them in the series. no reason why it shouldn't keep selling. So over time, it should bring in a reasonable return on all the time which I currently have not been paid for that I put into it. I would prefer not to think about it in hourly terms. Never pays to do that as a writer. Okay, we will go up on the dike. There's a kite stuck in the tree over there. Charlie Brown must have been around here. See if I can get a look at it when I get up here. There's the river, the creek. Lovely this morning. Yeah, over there, it's a kite eating tree, literally. Has to have been Charlie Brown. A kite stuck in a tree. It's such a cliche, and yet there it is. There's the creek. Water's quite still this morning. And yes, somebody up there walking their dog. You always see a dog. Good morning, Charles. It's about 2 or 3 degrees here, Celsius. So, 30, call it 38, 37, 36, somewhere along in there. Didn't frost last night. A lot of our leaves are gone, but not entirely. There are certain trees that just seem to stay green, and then they'll suddenly drop their leaves when there's a really hard frost or a wind or rain or snow. There's these ones which turn kind of silver, which are pretty. Woof, woof. Bridge. Sorry. Yeah, street, not avenue. Duh. How long have I lived here? I'm doing kind of a reverse thing here from the way I usually do things, so. Elfin stone here when it's safe to do so. If I have to, I'll go all the way to the crosswalk, if I have to. Which I think I probably better. It's really busy this time of day. Fairly steady string of cars here. Now I can jaywalk. This is a little senior center here, Regina Senior Citizens Center. Not a place where people live, but where they have events. We'll walk around by it. I haven't done that recently. I keep clearing my throat. We are open. Well, they certainly weren't for a long time. See some of the public artwork there. We'll follow the sidewalk here. And that's the Balkwell Civic Arts Center there. Has an art gallery in it, Art Gallery of Regina, a little art gallery, and other rooms, and they give art lessons there. I think there's a pottery studio and various things. You can take art classes. That was a somewhat zigzag path. Certainly not the most direct route. Anyway, here it is, with the old City of Regina logo on it from many years ago now. That's not the one they use anymore. Some of the buildings still have it on them. I have to remember to look before I cross the street. It's always when you don't expect a car to come by, you tend to get surprised. We'll walk by the giant beaver here. Hiding behind that bush is a giant beaver. So playground over there. The creek's over there, but I'll be back beside it on the latter half of the walk here. There we go. One each giant beaver. Submitted for your consideration. Garbage day. Got mine out last night. I always want to get it back in as soon as it's empty so that it doesn't collect dog poop. Because we're in an alley, people walk by with their dogs and they're always looking for some place to throw their little baggies. But normally it lives inside our fence where I guess they could get to it, but generally they have a little more shame than that. Soccer field there with a couple of dogs on it. Don't think they're supposed to be off leash in there, but I don't think anybody will complain. Down there at the end, we're looking at Mosaic Stadium, big football stadium for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It's below grade, most of it, so it's bigger than it looks from ground level. Seats, 30-some thousand, 38,000 maybe, max, something like that. I have walked down there before and will again, maybe this week. I'll walk down the other side of the street because I'm going to keep going up from that side this time. I usually walk on that side. Usually going the other way. Duck. The end of yesterday's walk, I had several flocks of geese flew over my head in the late evening. Probably heading back to some body of water to spend the night. They should be migrating soon. Maybe some already are. Maybe those were migrating geese from further north. I guess I don't know that. They didn't tell me. All they said was, some color in that hedge is quite nice, especially with the brown house behind it. They go together well, especially in this light. And all the time the park's over there with the lake, the creek, I mean, just on the other side. So I am sort of walking along the creek. A couple of newer houses. Several newer houses along this street. A few of the older ones, but quite a few newer ones. And of course, the airport's over there. I can hear a jet, even if you maybe can't. I used to drive down this road every day, taking Alice to school when she was in high school. So for 4 years, I guess, I drove this road almost every day. Every weekday, anyway. Some Halloween decorations there. Newer than some houses, but by this point it must be 60s, 70s, I would think that one. 70s, 80s maybe. Maybe the 90s, that look. Interesting here, the branches turn red. And they have little black berries on them. Don't know what that is, but that's interesting. It's not the leaves turning red, it's the actual branches. Some new ones on this street too. This whole neighborhood has a fairly high preponderance of fairly new construction mixed in with the older stuff. Here's one for sale. Nice to have the park out your front door. It's a good location. The yellow and black building in front of us is Sask Express, which is a youth, mostly youth, performing touring company is what they have, usually in the summer. And they used to have a winter show too, and they've done full-scale musicals more recently with the fellow who's currently the artistic director, Danny Balkwell, whom I first show I did in Regina with Regina Lyric Musical Theater, then Regina Lyric Light Opera, was the music man, and he played the boy, the principal boy. Crazy kid, yeah. So it's funny, he's now artistic director at, and he'd gone off and done professional musical theater in Toronto. I remember he was in Mamma Mia. It was in Toronto. Anyway, that's their building, Saskatchewan Express. I don't know if these are apartments or condos. I think they're apartments. Rental, not purchasable. I think today, to stretch things out a bit more than I sometimes do on Monday mornings, I think I may cross Louvain, walk over to the Italian club, and then come back along the creek. I think that's what I'll do. I had a lot of shorter walks last week, so this week maybe we can get some, try to put up the number of steps a little bit. I'm not entirely sure that I get an accurate count with the phone on my number of steps because of the motion canceling nature of the gimbal. It might be canceling out what would otherwise register as steps. So I'm not entirely sure. I keep meaning to turn on map my walk. I've been thinking that for months, and I always forget. Then at least I'd know exactly how far. I think the distance is probably right, because it wouldn't be calculated using steps. I'm just not sure the number of steps that it says I've taken are quite right. There's a path over here we can take. Those cyclists just came off of. And the Louvain is right there with the cars going by. We have to cross that to go where I'm planning to go. There's a stoplight a little further up here. Crosswalk. Nice little path. There's our crosswalk light peeking through the trees. So this is 13th Avenue here, which I've often walked along further down. Here's the crosswalk. I think we probably just missed our chance. Yes, we did. Could be a bit of a wait here. I don't think the button works either, so that's the Louvain. Railroad tracks there. And then 13th goes down that way. There'll be a bit of a wait here. Just watch the cars go by. That's the way I went when I took Alice to school, down to the next intersection and then over, and Luther's over in that direction, Luther College High School. So go up a couple of blocks this way and then we'll cross over. I actually have one of those, a non-electric belt-mounted pedometer somewhere. I should try that and just compare. It's an old one. I think it belonged to my wife's father, or maybe her grandfather. I don't know. Now there's probably a, nope, we got a walk signal right away. But there might be a left turn signal, but I guess not. It's not this time of morning. The sidewalk was being constructed earlier in the year when I walked this way. Now it's all finished. Shared pathway, so I guess that's supposed to be bicycle on one side and pedestrians on the other, or both. Hard to tell. Just that they're a little different, but normally shared pathway is just, well, like what I was just on. That's a shared pathway. Little park here with a little bit of playground. I should totally get it out if I can find it. I have an inkling where I might have put it. I hadn't thought about it for a while though, so it's hard to be sure where I put it. I've never tried it, I just know we have one. I had a Fitbit for a while, I don't know how accurate it was either. So up here at the next corner is the Italian Club. I've sometimes parked there and walked further on out the pathway. Today I'm going to get on the dike from there and go down to the pathway and walk along the creek, then all the way home is the plan. And yeah, this is about half an hour out here, so I'll probably work out to about the usual hour that I try to aim for. Been a bit shorter quite a few times this last week for one reason or another. It is a helicopter. Probably a SARS air ambulance up there. Is it red? Yeah, I think that's got to be what it is. Air ambulance. With that color. They come over our house a bit because we're kind of on a natural line of flight to the hospital. That one seems to have come from the airport, which is over that way. Sort of an industrial area over there. Various things like the FedEx depot, especially stuff that has a need to be close to the airport. And that big building over there is the curling rink. A little further down that way is the official off-leash dog park. One of them, anyway. So go up and over the dike. And then we'll be on the Devonian pathway again. Pathway that runs many, many kilometers in various places through the city. You could walk from up here all the way to the extreme southwest corner, I think. Took a while. If I did it, I could do it, you know, it's probably not that long, 2 or 3 hours. 3 hours maybe. And my wife dropped me off at one end and walked to the other end and have her pick me up, I suppose. Be one way to do it. Someday. Oh, right. For some reason I was thinking the path was down there, but it's not. It's right here. So there's the off-leash dog park, and there's the airport's in that direction. But we are going this way now. And the creek is right down there. And we will be closer to it momentarily. Walking into the sun now. Hello, Andres. Well, the Devonian is an epoch or an era of geological time. I don't know why it's called the Devonian Pathway. Never looked into it. There's the creek. Oh, surprised a crow. If you can surprise a crow, they always seem a little dismissive of humans. Right into the sun. Transcanada Trail. So if you were hiking across Canada on the Transcanada Trail, you would be on this path as you went through Regina. Morning. It's like a mirror, almost. There's actually a par 3 golf course over there with a sort of more natural fairways. Like they don't seem to water them, so everything is more brown for most of the year. I've never played that one. I think it's still there. Par 3. Don't know that I've ever seen anybody play it though, so how popular it is. There's another par 3 that I walked by yesterday, which is proper grass greens and everything. I think it's probably, this might even have sand greens. Wouldn't surprise me. I played a country course once. I'm not much of a golf player and haven't played in years actually. Didn't even get our clubs out this year. Even though I go to the Transcanada Country Club to write, I don't go to play golf. But years ago I did play one with sand greens, and not a big fan of those. So we look back the other way. Yeah, it's probably a raven, you're right. Crows, ravens, not quite the same thing for sure. My brother lived up north. They had huge ravens. They called them Thompson turkeys. Oh, here comes somebody with a dog. Morning. He used to work for International Nickel up there in the nickel mine. I was only ever up there once to visiting, but I remember it well. For a long time, that was the furthest north I'd been. I've been to L'Orange and north of L'Orange here in Saskatchewan. And I have to look at a map to see how those compare to Thompson. Thompson's probably further north. Then, a few years ago, I finally got up to Yellowknife. And that's the furthest north I've been in Canada. In Northwest Territories. We were in November. Not a lot of daylight. Sun came up and it went down again in just a very few hours. The lake was already frozen. It wasn't bitterly cold, but cold enough to freeze the lake. And we got to go dog sledding on the lake. which was cool. The dogs just loved to run. They weren't huskies either. They were some other breed. They were just so excited to run. And as soon as they were in the traces, off like a shot, and didn't make a sound hardly, running. Very interesting experience. I have video. I should put it on my YouTube channel sometime. It's a little old now, but it's still kind of cool. Didn't do much on my YouTube channel back then. Keep right, it says, and then it points you to the left. But see down there it says Transcanada Trail and Devonian Pathway. And slow, but I think I can manage that, not being a bicycle. So you can tell that's a dike, not the natural riverbank. So now we'll go under the Louvain, which we crossed at the crosswalk earlier. No, they weren't. They told us what they were. They didn't look anything like you think a northern dog would look like. As I recall, they had pretty short fur, in fact. They looked like a southern dog, but they sure did love to pull that sleigh. Good morning, Kirk in Vancouver. Walking along the creek, about 2/3 of the way done now. Walking in sort of the opposite direction than I usually do. I made the right choice not wearing my jacket. The sweater is perfectly warm enough at wherever we're up to now. We might be up to 3 or 4, maybe even 5. You can still feel it was really warm yesterday. Night before it was 1, and of course it dropped to 1 last night. But yesterday afternoon it was 22, which in Fahrenheit terms is 70 something. So about a 40-degree jump during the course of the day, and then back down again. That's because we are in a semi-arid climate, and the days are short, so the night sky has plenty of time to suck she's got everything. Suck the heat out of the atmosphere. She distracted me because she's saying, on your left, which is good. I hate it when they don't tell you they're coming. And this is the Pasco Street. Nice reflection in the water there, the bridge railing. Let's dismount. They never do. I certainly never did when I rode my bike along here. Now, the creek, when it's high, will come right over top of this. There's often been water down here under the bridge, but at the moment it's down below that. There's supposed to be a mirror there so you can see what's coming. Somebody spray painted it, and I don't think it was the city to start with anyway. Because, Why wouldn't you? Low life. If that's all you've got to do for fun, you've got a sad life, buddy. Very pretty this morning. It was very green and algae, but maybe it's gotten cold enough that I as well point it in that direction. Over here it's just grass. A baseball diamond. Softball. The creek's far more interesting. Now we'll curve away from it for a bit. Well, let me check my time. Well, you know, I think I'll walk along the path down by the creek instead of taking the curvy bit today. Since I stretch this out a bit more in a different direction. I'll take the dirt path instead of the paved path. Don't trip over the guy wire. Don't trip over the guy wire with anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. No, no, no. Perhaps this sit under the apple tree thing was a better choice than trip over the guy wire. Not quite the right number of syllables anyway. Did it have to be don't trip over the big guy wire to make the syllables match? Somebody on the path. I don't see a dog. Ah, thank you for looking that up. Devonian Pathway was named for the Calgary-based Devonian group of charitable foundations, which funded the creation of the path. But they would be calling themselves the Devonian. It must be an oil-bearing formation, geological formation. So ultimately, it still goes back to the epic or era, I would think. What happened to that woman I saw? Did she jump in the water? Oh. Hello. It wasn't a woman, it was a man. And he's bird watching. I don't know how warm it's supposed to be today. Not as warm as yesterday, but I think they said 15 degrees or something like that. Okay, got across. And of course I always stop and look both ways along the creek. So that's looking west. And that's looking east into the sun. I almost crossed this often enough you could do a time lapse of it. Morning. And it carries on, the path that is, into the sun. Now the creek's on that side. Funny that. It's like we crossed a bridge or something. Morning. Another dog walker. Oh, here's just a walker, no dog. Yes, for a while yet, very thin ice. Then for a while it'll be actual thin ice. Then it might be thin ice there because there must be there'd be a drainage pipe coming up from these streets, so that's why that's marked thin ice. Coming back to Elphinstone again. Don't know where I'll walk as the week goes along. Probably one day I'll go up to Mosaic Stadium. I haven't been up there for a while. And some day I'll drive somewhere else. It'll be different. And of course Friday's around the lake. It always is. That's a tradition. Just like Monday is along the creek. Morning. I don't know why he walked on my side straight toward me when I was obviously going to push the button. Smile, you're on camera. Baseball diamonds. Horseshoe pitch. You've been watching the whole thing from the beginning. We're already in season 10. About not quite halfway through season 10. And of course, it only went 11 seasons. It's been fun to watch it again. I think we may take Seinfeld after that. I never watched Seinfeld very much. My wife loved it. So they'd all be fresh to me, pretty much. It's good to have like a half-hour thing we watch. What's the other thing I'm doing? Oh, right. I'm starting guitar lessons tomorrow. I've dabbled at the guitar over the years, but really barely. And I do own one. I bought it at a silent auction a few years ago. So it's about time I made good on my promise to learn to play it. If my fingers will let me. I'm a little concerned because I do have a bit of arthritis in my thumbs from years of typing. We'll see how that goes with the grip. My fingers themselves are fine, for the most part. Don't bother me. Well, the typing probably helps there. My mother had rheumatoid arthritis, but because she was a typist, her fingers worked fairly well. I mean, she had a lot of surgery over the years, two knee replacements, a hip replacement, shoulder replacement, and I think something in one of her hands eventually. I used to call her my bionic mother. Not too much further now to the footbridge and then home. We go by the baseball diamonds. A train wreck of human relations. Yeah, that sounds about right. For Seinfeld. New stuff. We're watching Foundation, which I really enjoyed. I never really read the novels. You think, being my age, and being a, but I think I came to it too young and I found it boring. But I'm really enjoying the adaptation. I have no idea how people who love the Foundation series feel about the adaptation. I would think they would be pleased with it, but I have no idea. Anyway, I'm enjoying it. And we're watching one with Steve Martin and Martin Short and Selena Gomez called Only Murders in the Building, which is really good. I recommend that one, if you don't mind swearing. It's about 3 very different people living in a big apartment building in New York, but they're all fans of this true crime podcast. And then there's a murder in the building, and they start their own true crime podcast called Only Murders in the Building, but there's a lot more to it than that. Lots of secrets revealed and interesting characters and terrific writing. So I do recommend that one. Yeah, and I think I tried to read them when I was about 12, so perhaps I just wasn't quite ready. Morning. Waterfall Park. Well, right through there, you can see the rock wall. So in the summer, they pipe water over that to make a waterfall, and there's a pond, and then it flows through this little creek under the little footbridge over there. I've walked down there, but it just didn't go that way today. It's a popular place for wedding pictures. Coming up to the footbridge. There she blows. I haven't seen any geese this morning. I guess they're not active in the mornings the way they are just at sunset. Another dog walker. If it weren't for dogs, some people would get no exercise. Oh, there's a goose. One lone goose. Oh, here comes some more. A small flock. Any. Okay, time to look up and down the creek again. Looking west. Looking east. You can tell we're past the solstice because the sun is now well south of east, and it will be further south yet as we approach, the equinox, as we approach the solstice. Again, danger, thin ice, very thin ice. Morning. We followed the, no, wait a minute, I didn't walk along the dike to come. The deal. I was thinking I walked along the dike, but that was yesterday. These bushes were all trimmed way down. They were up over my head at the beginning of the summer. They trimmed them down. They're already growing back, of course. But I think they did it for safety reasons, so the path wasn't completely screened from view. They have all these houses over here that can see it now. See? Garbage day. Now, whatever I had in my eye is now making itself felt again, but at least it didn't bother me for most of the trip. The walk. Speaking of trips, I'll cut down the dike up here by the next, go to the alley, and hopefully I don't trip on the way down. See what I did there? There's another garden that I watched being planted, grown up, and now it's pretty much done. I've now done most of spring, all of summer, and part of fall, so eventually I will have done the entire round of the seasons. Somewhere along here I sometimes go down. Oh, here we go. There's a little bit of a path here we can take down and then walk through the alley. Don't slip because I never thought about the dew on the grass. There we go. Not sure why that's parked there. I don't know why there was a truck at the end of the street either, or the alley either. City truck, I think. Oh, Access. Oh, okay. That's the cable company. Used to have a show on Access Communications, but my wife's an engineer at SaskTel, so we get our TV through SaskTel, not through Access. dog on premises is a much nicer way of saying beware of dog than saying beware of dog, isn't it? Canine in residence, I think, is what I would put. Except we have a feline. Little airplane. Not worth pointing the camera at. I like this house because of the turret. Very Bavarian, I always say. Yes, Saskatchewan is a world leader in fiber. We had for many years the world's longest fiber optic network. And we've had fiber to the home at our house, I don't know, several years now. My first high-speed connection was ADSL, which was, I loved that technology because they had managed to use copper wire installed when telephones first went in, like the original copper wire for telephones, and they had figured out how to use it for high-speed internet access, which I thought was cool. But I'm much happier to have fiber optic than ADSL. High speed is relative. What used to be high speed, you wouldn't put up with now. This block from 4 a.m. Thursday, that's when they're going to be doing the leaves in the gutters. Wrote a whole chapter about fiber optic network in Saskatchewan in my book, A Safe and Prosperous Future, 100 Years of Engineering and Geoscience Achievements in Saskatchewan. Lightning doesn't travel on glass. That's true. Okay, here we are at my usual stop sign. So thanks for walking with me. I'll be back tomorrow. Bye for now.